Morning campers, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a very cold Darley Moor airfield. It's freezing today. In this episode I've got a poorly BVB and I'm going to try and show you what the problem is, and I'm going to try and fix it, and hopefully at the end of this video I'll start it. So stick around. Right, so what's the problem? In my last video I showed you that, or I told you that recently I went to try and start the engine, and when I pulled the starter motor there was absolutely no engagement between the starter and the engine, and it turns out that this is the pull start mechanism and this is what's broken. Basically when you pull the starter motor, this orange bit which engages with the crankshaft should turn, and as you can see I'm pulling the starter motor and it's not engaging. So this is the bit that's broken and this is the bit that I need to fix. Before I carry on, a bit of a disclaimer, this is not a how-to video. I am, as you'll see by watching this video, I am no mechanic. I'm just a bloke that's willing to have a go. So if you follow anything that I do and break your engine, ain't my fault. I was a bit concerned because I thought that fixing this might be an engine off job, because this starter motor, or this starter unit I should say, sits right at the back of the engine, right in here. Hopefully you'll be able to see it on my head cam, and there's not a lot of clearance between there and the frame where this sits, and I thought that the engine might have to come off in order for me to get this off, but thankfully that genius Mr. Fowler suggested that if I undo or loosen the top engine mounts and undo the bottom engine mounts, that then gave me enough wiggle room to tilt the engine back like that, and then I've got enough clearance to get the starter motor out. Right, so what is actually the problem? Well, the problem is inside the pull unit there is a spring, and when I took the starter unit off and took this piece off, I found this small piece of metal, and this small piece of metal has snapped off the end of that spring there. If I show you the spring that's in there and then compare that with the new spring, you can see that the spring should have this lip, or this on the end it should have this tang, if you like. So that's the wrong way around, isn't it? On this spring here it's snapped off, and this tang engages with this slot, so that when you turn the starter, the pull starter, it engages with this. That turns that, which is connected to the crankshaft, that starts the engine. So that's what the problem is. So basically this job is taking that spring out and replacing it with that spring. The problem with that is that this spring is under a lot of tension, and I'm a bit concerned that when I pull it out, it's going to go flying off somewhere, probably land the other side of Stoke somewhere, taking somebody's out on the way. So that's what I'm a little bit wary of. You can see in this new spring, as it's provided by the factory, it's got this fairly thick substantial metal sort of C-clamp on it, which keeps it in one piece. That suggests to me that that's under a lot of tension, or a lot of tension, compression, I'm not sure. Either way, if I took that off, this spring would go flying. So I'm just a bit wary about taking this spring out and either doing myself an injury or losing it. So we'll see how we go. What I'm going to do whilst I've got the unit off, it's a good opportunity, there are moving parts in here, it's a good opportunity to take it completely to pieces, give it a good clean and give it a bit of a re-grease. I have noticed that when I pull the starter string, it does retract, but it's a little bit slow. When I first bought the engine, it used to pull that string back in with a lot of force, and I think what's happened is that the grease has just disintegrated or degraded. So I'm going to take it to pieces and give it a bit of a clean. That just confirms my suspicions. Look at that horrible, that's not grease anymore, I don't know what that is, but that's not turning freely, so that definitely needs a bit of a clean and a bit of a re-grease. Right, so for cleaning I've got some isopropyl alcohol. That's normally pretty good at cleaning anything that's covered in grease, and it smells nice. Oh, the only problem with doing this sort of stuff when it's cold is every single bit of metal that you touch is about -5 degrees, and you pretty quickly lose the feeling in your fingers. There we go, that's looking a whole lot better. Oh, I see now, having just cleaned the old grease from that straight away, that's so much smoother. So that was clearly why that wasn't operating smoothly, just old grease that had just gone hard and yucky. Cool. So before I assemble that, I need to re-grease it. Right, now the bit I've been dreading. Getting this old spring out. Now on the reverse of this pulley there is a little hole through there which you can use to knock or start knocking the spring out, and then it mentions in the instructions about using a zip tie around this spring to keep it together so it doesn't go bedoing. And if I can pop a screwdriver through there and tap on that, it should start knocking this spring out. Told you I wasn't a mechanic. That's definitely going. Do you know what? Even if this spring does unravel, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to reuse it. Let's just whack it, see what happens. Said no good mechanic ever. Let's do what the instructions suggest. Right. Now, hopefully that should stop this spring from going flying. Oh, I should be able to knock it all the way out now, I reckon. Well, the cable tie didn't survive, but the spring is out. Still got both my eyes. I'll call that a win. So now, next job then, I've got to get this new spring and knock it into there. A little bit of grease, I think, just to ease it in. God, my grease is frozen. Straight, how cold is it? Right, this could be a challenge. Shoot. No, that's not what that's what I wanted not to happen. Still got one spring on. This could be harder than I thought. This could be a challenge. Trying to get this spring back in to this. Bit of grease, see if I can't ease it in. How the fuck do I start? The problem is, it seems to be just a little too fucking big. I might have to pause here.
2 hours later.
Right, so it turns out with only one C-clamp compressing that spring, it was just slightly too big to fit back into the pulley. So if I'm going to have any chance of getting it in, I've first got to refit that second C-clamp, which is what I spent most of the afternoon faffing about with. Well, I managed to get... Oh, shit, what's going on there?
Can I help? I'll just stay clear.
Oh shit, that spring's come off again. Ah, mate, this is turning into an absolute pig of a job.
Feels like it's going to go.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it not near the bottom enough?
Giles, tell us what the problem is.
This won't go in there. It's got two high tensile steel rings around the outside to keep the spring together. But the alignment of this diameter is fine for this circumference. But if you look really closely, for that to sit in there correctly, I'm not sure how well the camera will see this, this tang retainment tank doesn't align, so you've got to squeeze that in at the same time, but you can't do it with your fingers.
No. And what you won't have seen is that I've actually been at this for about 4 hours now, and we're still no further forward. In fact, I'm exactly where I was the other day when this arrived and it came out of the packet.
So about 2 weeks ago, was it?
That was 2 weeks ago. So in 2 weeks, I've made the sum total of 0 progress. Right, anyway, let's crack on. And hopefully, at some point today, this might be fitted. This could be the moment we've all been waiting for.
Maybe a bloody jump.
Whack it. Any second now, it's just going to go pop. Yeah, right.
You know that scene in Elf where he's testing all the Jack in the boxes? It feels like that scene. It's like, yeah. I thought that was in then.
That's what she said. I can't help it. I could turn
You
this
are
off.
full of it.
Recording.
You are.
We're recording.
How scared of 3 bits of metal have we been?
You were hiding behind me most of the time. Getting that spring in there is a 5-minute job, which has just taken me, Giles and Mark the best part of a day, a whole day.
Well, you've been doing most of it. I've been working.
But we're in there. So when it says Corsair in the manual, it's a 5-minute job, you're lying, because it's not. It's taken me all day. Anyway, it's in. I'm not going to do any more today. I'll join you again tomorrow when that's the hard bit done. I'll do the easy bit, putting it back. So I will see you tomorrow. I need a stiff drink. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.